All right, welcome everyone. We've got quite a few registrants for this event today, so we're going to give just a moment to let everyone get in the Zoom room. While we're just hanging out here, go ahead and hop into the chat, introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from, what you studied at the U of O when you graduated, and what you're looking forward to learning about from Vincent during our hour together. Thank you everyone for being here. All right. So I'm going to kick things off just by sharing a little bit of background about Vincent. First and foremost, I want to introduce myself. I'm Megan McKinney. I'm the Associate Director of the Duck Career Network. And I am so happy to be here with Vincent Green. He is a proud UO alumnus with a degree in journalism and communications. He is a results-driven leader with an impressive 25-year career at Target, where he not only opened 2 stores, but also successfully promoted over 12 employees to store director, all while earning multiple prestigious awards for his exceptional performance. Today, Vincent is going to be sharing his expertise on leading diverse, high-performing teams, a skill he has honed throughout his career. He'll discuss the importance of reflecting the community in your workforce, talent management, and building diversity within leadership roles. Vincent will also take us through some of the challenges he faced, including the unique experience of opening the downtown Portland, Oregon store, and the critical role of acknowledging and supporting retail workers. Now retired, Vincent has continued to make a significant impact by co-founding a nonprofit called Christ-Centered Empowerment for Families alongside his wife, Linda. Their mission is to support families affected by domestic violence, ensuring every family member feels loved, valued, and safe. In addition, Vincent lends his leadership skills to local organizations as a freelance project manager, helping them achieve their goals. So during our time together, please submit any questions that you have for Vincent using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We're going to dedicate some time toward the end of our hour together to get to as many questions as possible. I know we also had some great questions come in through the registration form. We're going to get to those as well. So we're definitely in for an insightful hour. So without further ado, welcome, Vincent. Thank you for being here. And I'm just going to kick things off here. So as you reflect on your tenure as a store director at Target, what strategies did you find most effective in leading diverse high-performance teams?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Megan, first for allowing me to be here today. And thank you, everyone who has joined the call. It's fun to see some of the names of the people that I may even be talking about. I won't say their names, but there are a few of those leaders that I was able to help get promoted within this group. And so that is exciting to see. And I thank them for joining. When I think about developing, high performance teams, I think you have to start with a vision. Obviously, your company has a vision, but you also have to have a vision for yourself and for your team. And one of the things that I've been able to do is share the vision and the expectation for my team, letting them know what I want to see, what I want to accomplish, what we can accomplish as a team together. And I think when you're dealing with high-performing leaders, you have to challenge them and you have to set a goal for them and let them know that the goal is to be the best that we can possibly be. And so that's one thing that I think has worked over the years for me and allowed me to be successful in running stores at Target. I think also, I still really think it's important to reflect the community with the people that you have in your stores. And what I mean by that is, when a guest is shopping in a store, I want them to see themselves in our store. And how that connects with high-performing leaders is that you have to perform, you have to have success, you have to drive sales, when your guests are happy, when people are shopping in your store and they're excited and they see things that they like, part of that like is seeing a reflection of themselves in your store. So I think that that's important and that will help drive positive performance. I think the last thing is it's all about picking the best possible people you can on your team. And I just was always looking for the best. And I know that that sounds simple, but what does that mean? Well, when you're looking for the best, you're going to be choosy. You're going to be selective. You're going to look for people that are like you or may not be like you, but they have these qualities that you want. You want people that are that drive for results, that have high expectations, just like you do. Because if you're raising the bar and trying to drive high expectations, you want people that are going to do the same thing and not get discouraged when it gets difficult or challenging. So I have certain leadership expectations that I look for in the people that I hire. And it's not just in the leaders that report to me, it's in the leaders that report to them and even the team members that we hire. They all need to be focusing on being the best, and that's the way we can win, in my opinion. And that's how we were successful.
You know, I mentioned earlier that you opened the downtown Portland, Oregon store. Um, can you share with us some of the challenging situations that you faced while opening at that location? And how did you uh, use your leadership skills to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, it's a fun memory and a sad memory opening that
Mhm.
store. When we opened that store, the energy was so high and so exciting. And I was so excited to be the one to open that store, especially being born and raised in Portland. This is my city. I've always loved downtown Portland, and to have a store in the downtown area to me was the coolest thing. And then for it to be successful, it was successfully opened. We were able to have a great mass hire. We had amazing talent. We really had a lot of fun. If you can think about being in your ideal situation, that was it for me over the 25-year career. I would say that was the highlight. But as time progressed, Portland became the low light, and the store got challenged, and it's definitely unfortunate because the memories of seeing that store go from great to not so great is painful at times as I think about it. And with the challenges that we faced were challenges we weren't prepared for. We were not, we were prepared to run a typical Target store, and we adjusted to city life, but we didn't expect the homeless population to explode like it did downtown.
Mhm.
That was just not part of the plan. And when it did hit, and we had homeless people hanging out in front of the store, distracting our guests, we had unique situations in the store, from people going behind a pharmacy counter and destroying the pharmacy. We had people just in the store doing things you just don't see every day in a store environment. And
Right.
we had to adjust to that. How we did that was quite a learning, because it was not a lot of fun, and we weren't prepared for it. But then you have to adjust. One of the other biggest things, and the biggest adjustment I think we did, was the homeless would bring in bottles and cans. Return center, returning bottles and cans to grocery stores is something that takes place. It isn't something that takes place in Target, though.
Yeah, not
We
traditionally.
don't, we just weren't, especially downtown, in a small environment, and we weren't set up for it. So we had long lines at our guest service area, lines of, homeless people with bottles and cans, smell, all those different things, distracting our guests, ruining technically our guest environment. Target is so focused on providing an amazing guest service situation, and my guests are now disappointed walking into my store because one, they can't get the guest service, and also two, their shopping experience is ruined by all sorts of different distractions. So we had to create a vehicle that would allow us to be able to return bottles and cans for those guests and continue to provide a amazing shopping experience. And it was definitely a challenge. We opened up a bottle and cans return section outside the store. We had to partner with headquarters. We had to partner with the city. There were so many unique things that we got a chance to do, which I think is great when you think about your work experience. You know, a lot of my team members got a chance, a lot of my executives got a chance to be a part of that plan and actually be able to tell great stories for their experiences because they were part of the planning process. We got a chance to walk the store and say, where are we going to put a return center? How does that look? This building isn't set up for it. We had to think outside the box. We had to get creative. So many unique experiences, even in a challenging situation. And we were able to do that. And so we did fix that problem. But as Portland continued to deteriorate in downtown, homeless situation, riots, all the things that blew up in Portland, all of those things negatively affected the store. You know, one of the thoughts was, well, you know, why did the store close? And the Target we weren't prepared for all of those things, and we could not handle the theft. We could not handle the homeless. We could not handle the riots. All of those things got to be so cost effective or costly that it was unfortunate to see it close. And yeah, that was a sad day, actually.
Mm. I want to switch gears to something a little more positive.
Thank you.
So one of the things I've really enjoyed learning from you as we've been talking, leading up to this webinar, is the way that you approach training programs. So you have a wealth of experience in training new employees in a way that you are strategically creating a pathway for them to succeed. They can see where they're heading. They understand that you're setting up a future for them at your company. So as a district training sponsor, what approaches did you take to ensure the quality and effectiveness of the training programs that you delivered?
Absolutely. Training I was in my happy space when I was training. I loved training. I loved being able to stand up in front of the team and talk about the different experiences that they're going to get at Target. I was sold on the fact that retail could provide you with so many different experiences that you would not get in other businesses. And so this is a great place to work because you get a chance. Every day doesn't look the same. And so it's all different. But in my training, I was able to tell great stories. I was able to prepare people for what they were going to see in their experiences because I had experienced pretty much every position before I got to be a trainer. So that was, brilliant on Target's part and, smart on my part to be receptive to, taking on these different positions so that I could be utilized to train others who were coming into the company. And so I'm not necessarily saying you have to go in every position to be a great trainer, but it did work for me. But the other thing I think is understanding how people like to learn. I think that is one of the most important things in training. And what I was able to do during the training time is ask questions of the people that I was training. How do you like to be? How do you like to learn? What is your learning style? Is it hands-on? Is it listening to me talk on and on and on? Is it listening to stories? What excites you? And being able to create training plans or training programs that centered around that is what made my day. And so I think that's what helped the people that came out of my training be more effective. I also use training as an opportunity to showcase different leaders. And, in Target structure, we have the store director, we have executive leaders, and then we have team leaders who report to those executive leaders. They're like the area managers. And what I would do is utilize those area managers to train the executives, to give them that experience. Those area managers or team leaders were the experts. And when you learn from those experts, my executives were so much better because they were able to learn from the people that they're going to directly lead. But also those leaders, those team leaders got a chance to feel good about their own job because they were able to say, I'm able to train people my level and above. And because I'm good at this, and we recognized them for that. So that was key. I think the last part about training is telling stories. And I love to tell stories. And there are many stories you get over a 25-year career. And some stories are scary and some stories are just amazing. And I was able to sprinkle some of those stories into the training, which connected with the trainees, and helped them to get a full training experience over the time that with me. And so I try to make it a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, just because I'm curious. When you look back at some of those storytelling opportunities where you really were able to connect closely with a trainee, perhaps you can reflect on one of those stories that you've shared in the past that you felt really impacted the trainee's experience.
Yeah, there was I sometimes you don't want to scare people, but
Right.
I was training a group that was mostly guest experience leaders, and I was a ETL guest experience, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with all types of guests. Some
Exactly.
some that are happy and make it easy on you. And then there are some that are not. And they are going to push your buttons. They're going to challenge you. And it's going to take some time to to help to get this customer, this guest resolved. And so there was a time when I was a store director, ETL guest experience. My store director told me that every single time there was a guest complaint at guest service, whether I was the executive in charge for the day or whether I was whatever I was doing, I had to stop what I was doing and go deal with that guest all day long. And I was in a store that was known for a lot of problems. So all day long, every day, I just might as well plan it myself at guest service and resolve problems. And as much as I hated that, it was a great learning for me because I quickly figured out a way to resolve the problems. And sometimes, it is how you communicate with the guests, how you calm them down, how you talk them off the ledge. And then once you get them focused on listening to you, then you negotiate how to resolve the problem. And you have freedom in that. And that's one thing I think I liked about Target, because you had freedom to negotiate on how you wanted to resolve the problems. Yes, we had rules, but I always say rules are made to be broken. So there are times when you would stay within the rules, and there are times when you would have to bend those rules. And it's such a great learning when you decide I'm going to make this call and then have to go convince your boss, this is what I did because this was what was necessary to resolve this problem. And that's, you build trust with your supervisor. There's so many experiences you get out of that. They get a chance to tell you, well, next time I'd like to see you do this way.
Right.
Or, great job. And those experiences are the things I got a chance to share within that group, and I think it really helped them become better leaders.
Yeah, I think that I wish everybody could work in customer service.
Yes.
I mean, what you learn about, negotiation, problem solving, having the autonomy to figure out how to best tackle an issue to maintain that loyalty of your customers. I think that's such a fantastic learning experience. I wish everybody could go through that and experience it.
Yes.
I want to touch on one last thing here. So you and I had talked previously about setting up a path for success for your trainees, what you called destination training. I'd love to just dive into that a little bit more because I think that is so important for managers to present a path forward for their employees. So their employees aren't just succeeding right now in the moment, but they can see a future in their company or their organization. And I think that also just helps retain good talent when they know that they have a path forward. They know they have a future and that you are doing everything that you can to get them to that destination. So can you just talk a little bit more about that before we switch gears and go to the next question, how you set up that roadmap for your employees or for your trainees?
Absolutely. I think the first I'll give recognition to Target because they created this plan. And I, as a mentor, as a person who loves training, as a person who focuses on development of talent, this is the vehicle to use. And I always wonder why people don't use it, why it didn't stick. I don't, I think in my memory, I believe at some point we went a different direction away from it, but I still used it because I felt it was such a great retention tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, you mentioned it, it is about giving people a guided map to say, obviously there's some things that can bump or change in this plan, but if you give people a roadmap as to how they're going to get to where they want to go, and that's a part of it. It's not just my plan, it's our plan. We're putting this plan together. They're telling me where they want to go, and then I'm helping them guide them through the steps they're going to get there. And we use timelines, we use in 3 years you're going to be a store director, and here's how you're going to get there. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, sometimes it's shorter, and there are people on this call right now that have done it in shorter times, and and I think it's exciting to see. But I think it helps people to stay focused on what they're trying to get to. And
exactly.
When you can see it, and if we don't hit the timeline, that's a conversation that we have. It's Vince, you said, and here's an opportunity to talk about, well, what happened? Now, but if we're really being good, we're using this in our status sessions. We're talking about, what I see is coming next, what experiences you need to have, and making sure we're on track. And the more detailed that map is, the better it's going to be. The map could be, you need to be in this position, you need to be in this position, and the next position is store director. But what are you going to do when you're in the first position? What steps are you taking to ensure that you're going to get to the next step? And some of that includes experiences that I'm going to make sure you have, experiences that you're going to document as you're developing your people and growing your team, experiences that you have with interactions with my supervisor. All of those things are part of that roadmap that helps you get to be the leader you want to be. And I tried to train people that way so that they would do the same things. And because one, obviously, if you have great leaders working for you, your job is going to be a lot easier than if you had leaders that weren't great, are not being developed, or not being trained,
exactly.
Which leads to some other things that I'm sure we're going to talk about. But I will stop right there in that I believe that this destination plan is a key to success. And it can be used in any company, in any organization, because people are trying to grow. And if you want to grow people, grow style, grow leadership, grow people in their experiences, it's a great way to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking more about that destination planning. I love that. Before we switch gears here, I just want to remind everyone to please submit any questions that you have for Vincent using the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many questions as we can towards the end of our hour. So let's talk a little bit about mentorship. As you look back, what were some of the key factors that contributed to your success in mentoring and promoting individuals within your team to those higher leadership roles? How was mentoring such a key piece of that?
Absolutely. When you have people that are reporting to you, it's that part of it is not necessarily the mentoring piece, but that's the way I treated my team, and that's the development that they got from me. So one of the things that I wanted my ATLs to have, and other ETLs that didn't work in my store, when they came to me, they got also, is a connection outside the store. I think you have to have a mentor, someone who can help you along the way, someone who can give you different direction than I'm getting, and also allow you to go and say, well, Vincent gave me this crazy thing and I don't think it makes sense, and I need to talk to somebody about it because I can't talk to Vincent about it yet. Another person allows you to figure out how you're going to deal with your own supervisor when that might be a problem. Another person will help you, give you a different thought process on how to deal with your team when that could be a problem. Vincent, as my boss, sees it every day, and here's what he sees. But when I take the story to someone who doesn't work in the store and is someone I can share anything I want with them and share my opinions, they're going to give me a different perspective. And a different perspective can be very, very, very helpful. And so I believe a mentor is someone who answers your questions when you can't ask your boss. It's a mentor is someone who's going to tell you the truth immediately, because there's no reason why they can't.
Right.
Sometimes your boss can't even tell you. Sometimes your boss will kind of skirt around it, because they're not ready yet to give you the down and dirty. Or, but your mentor can do that, especially when you open up that type of relationship and say, hey, you know what? This is what I need in a mentor. You need to be specific and talk about what you need in a mentor. But I will always say you're going to be more successful when you have someone outside your store, outside your environment that you can talk to, that you can ask questions to. They're going to help you become so much better. And it really, I think, we all have different leadership skill sets that we're good at. So sometimes your mentor could be someone whose skills are different than yours. So that when you get to a challenge and it's a skill set that is an opportunity for you, and your mentor, that is their strength, they can give you ideas on how to make that work, how to fix that situation, how to address that situation. Here's what I did when I was in that situation. And so I'm a huge fan of mentoring, and I loved it when other store executives asked me to be their mentor, because I was like, okay, this is great. Again, I'm in my wheelhouse. I could tell them, what, this is a bad idea. This is a great idea. Try this, do that, and it's always helped. So, when I talk about the 12 executives that I help promote to store directors, that does include the mentees that I had that I was able to also help. And, when you look at inside your store, that's one thing, but outside your store, your reach can even be better because you're mentoring other people and bringing them along. And also, some of those people eventually will come to work for you. And so again, now you're creating even stronger mentors, a stronger team, because you've helped guide this person along, and now they're working for you, and you can use them as part of helping them to get successful. And so I'm adamant about people finding mentors and making sure that they utilize those mentors to be the best that they can be.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things that you had said when you and I were talking before is that you were constantly in this mode of looking for your next replacement
Yes.
and getting them ready. And I think that that's a powerful thing to say. And so finding those people that you can mentor, building them up, getting them ready for their next steps in their career, imagining that they could be stepping into your shoes one day and take over your position, which you won't be at forever. I think that's just so important to set people on a path for success through mentorship.
Yeah, I mean it's so uplifting and motivating also. I mean, just again, when I think about this webinar, and there's a couple names on here that just are leaders that I was able to help guide. I mean, they're talented people, but if you show them the way, give them direction and focus, and then let them soar, because you're guiding them along, they're going to do great things. And, there's a Lauren O'Neill on here, then there's an Anthony Ayon on here. And those are guys and people that I was able to help. And them showing up today, just, reiterates the relationship, reiterates the connection. And it's exciting to see. And, if anybody else is on here and I didn't mention, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you, those are the few names I saw right now. So
That's a full circle moment right
it
there.
is. It really is. I mean, the other day, and I don't think Karina's on here. I didn't see her name on here, but she just another leader that I helped just texted me. She's at a meeting in Minneapolis. I think she's in Minneapolis because she still works for Target. And she texted me and said they're doing some development focus event, and the thought was, who influenced you? And she
Mhm.
wrote on their events, and then she sent the text me and told me this and sent a picture of it. And it's just, that just gives you kind of chills, because it's like, your legacy is still going, the things that you've done, the people that you have influenced or connected with are still utilizing some of the things that you gave them. Obviously, they're great talents, but you were able to help them along the way. And so it's kind of a cool recognition thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that brings us up to where you are at this point in your life now.
Okay.
Um, in retirement, you have been finding some new ways to contribute all your leadership skills, all of your management skills, everything that you've learned along the way into new endeavors. So let's talk a little bit about your nonprofit that
Okay.
you are running alongside your wife, and some other freelance work that you've been doing for a company in Portland. Let's dive into that.
Absolutely. So my wife Linda and I started a nonprofit called Christ-Centered Empowerment for Families a couple of years ago now. Yeah, it's growing. It is a work in progress, but we are definitely making some inroads, and it really is exciting. What we do is we focus on the friends and family of a person who's going through domestic violence. And what happens is that those family members don't know what to do or what to say or how to help their friend who is in that situation. And if if you don't get the right information, you can ruin that relationship. You can put that person in jeopardy. And so Linda, who has the experience, and then I get a chance to be, kind of the background guy and help move the business along the way. But she has experience, and where she's been able to guide people through those different situations, guide families, give them the information based on her 16 plus years of experience in the industry, and help people know what to say and know what to do. We teach a class called Know the Signs. That's about a 4 hour long class because it's that much detail that you need to learn. But it gives you all the steps and all the thoughts on how to help your family member go through a situation and how to be useful and helpful, not be a hindrance.
Mm.
And it really is exciting to see people grow in that area and get wisdom and get knowledge based off of how they can really help some people, help their family members. I mean, I could go on and talk about how big this is, and every day in the news you see something where someone was abused in some way. Either they were killed or they were beat up or whatever it is. And there's just not enough education out there, and not enough people focus on it. And so we believe that whatever people that whoever we can help, we're going to help. And so what I get a chance to do is kind of do the behind the scenes, the financial pieces, the structure of the organization, creating who's going to be on the board, all of these different things that come with a nonprofit. And it is exciting and challenging at the same time.
Mhm.
I'm so used to having a structure where that it's set up for me, and then I operate in that structure. And now I have to create the structure, develop the structure, work with my wife and make sure that, we're on the same page. And, even though we've been married 38 years, we still, have to figure that out and too. And one of the things that's funny, because we always said we wanted to work together, and we get a chance to work together, and we're having a lot of fun with it, but we're also learning each other as well, and how to best communicate. And so it's still things that I've learned at Target, that I get a chance to use in our nonprofit. The project management piece is just getting started. I'm working with a construction company, to friends of ours, and just trying to help them in their business. They're doing so well, and the work is growing, and so they needed additional, hands or people who can visualize and help them manage some of the teams that are out there. And so I get a chance to do that, and that's so exciting. And it keeps me sharp. It keeps me doing things. I say I'm retired. My wife says I'm semi-retired, so I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. And we're still looking for whatever opportunities we can do to help. And so
Mhm.
active on the Black Alumni Board, U of O Black Alumni Board is so
Yes.
much fun for me, and just getting started, but just doing some of those things, mentoring is a part of that, what we're going to do, and I'm excited to do that. And I still get a chance to use the skills that I've learned, that I'm passionate about doing and utilizing. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And I failed to mention earlier, I mean, congratulations on your board position with the Black Alumni Network. I know that you're going to be a great asset to that board and bring in a lot of really great ideas, especially around that mentoring piece, which I know is so important and impactful. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that position. And yeah, I think it's, so important, after retirement to find new passions to pursue. Like you said, stay sharp,
Yes.
stay active, find new ways to apply those skills that you've built up throughout your career to, that post-retirement era that you're moving into. So I think that everything that you're doing is just continuing to be very impactful, especially through your nonprofit. It sounds like you and Linda are doing a lot of good work. So congratulations on everything that you're accomplishing now in retirement.
Thank you.
Um, we are going to dive into some questions
Okay.
from the audience. So we had quite a few questions come in initially through the registration form. We also have some questions coming in right now through the Q&A. So let's see how many we can tackle because they're really great questions.
Okay.
So here's a question that came through. What advice do you have for somebody leading a team for the very first time?
Absolutely. I that's when you open a store, and when you actually lead a store, you get a lot of new leaders. And so that's something that I've had to help people with a lot. And so one of the things that I think is the most important is how you create a what we used to call a 30-60-90 plan. And so it's kind of your entrance strategy into how you are going to address your team, how you're going to work with your team. And I've always advised my leaders to the first 30 days to learn your team. It's all about understanding who they are, who your people are, getting your bearings on what you're trying to accomplish. And the best way to do that is understand what type of team you currently have. From your team members to your team leaders, that should be your focus for the first 30 days. Understanding them, serving them, connecting with them, listening to them, not giving out a lot of direction, but understanding what they're doing, and taking notes. Taking notes is huge. I think it's very important to understand what is happening within your work center before you start jumping in there trying to change it. And because maybe there's nothing to change, or maybe there's a ton to change. And you have to figure out what is the most important and how you're going to prioritize that. So the first 30 days, that's your focus. The next 30 days is kind of what you've learned and what you want to accomplish. And you begin to tell people who you are as a leader. So those are kind of a combination of things. You're statusing with your team and you're saying, this is what I heard, this is where we're at, this is who I am. And in the who you are piece, you truly have to be consistent and say exactly who you are so that you can build trust with your team. If you're building trust with your team, they're knowing who you are and what your expectations are, that is going to win them over. But if you are not consistent and they see any inconsistencies, they're going to jump all over that. So the goal is to be consistent, to stay true to who you are. Say, one of my favorite things is let your yes be yes and your no be no. If that, what you need to do that, because they're looking at you and wondering who you're going to be and what kind of leader you're going to be. The next 30 days, it's all about execution and implementation. You start to roll out your plan. You start to roll out your goals and what you want to see and the changes you want to see. You also want to say what you think is good and recognize your team. Recognize your team for what they're doing well, and then start to begin to address what we need to change and take them as partners along the way. You can't fix this all by yourself. You can't do it all by yourself. And one of the things that I've always said as a leader is like, if you try to do this by yourself, then they're going to let you do it by yourself. And so I'm always including everybody in because I am not going to fix this by myself. And I didn't want to do that. That's not the leader I am, and that's not what we wanted to do. And so, and I didn't bring you on to try to do this by yourself. So I need you to create a unity and create a team like I have done with you. And so I think that's the best strategy in the first 90 days. And then from there, you're gone. You're running. You're, things are moving, things are hopping, you're making decisions with your team, and you've built a foundation that is to last, but you have to stay consistent.
I like that. So, you hit some key points there: collaboration, authenticity as a leader, staying consistent. I like how you kind of broke that down for us, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. I think that's so important to have a plan. And that was great insight to share. Thank you so much for answering that question that came in from the audience. We've got a lot more. So another question was, what are some good books that you've found to be useful and insightful over your career? We always get this question about, what books do you like? What podcasts do you listen to? I love this question. It's so fun to share, things like that you really love. So what about you? Books, podcasts, what have you?
I laugh about the podcast because I am obviously a U of O junkie, and all my podcasts are so focused on sports and football. Okay, that's all I want to focus on in my podcast, which is, ridiculous sometimes because I can't get enough of Oregon football. Um, but I will say this: my books, the books that I read, the my favorite book, and I'll talk about this book because I think it is, well, there's actually two, and they're very, very similar. One was Lead Like Jesus by Kim Blanchard, and then Servant Leadership by Kim Blanchard. Um, I'm a very big fan of Kim Blanchard. He's a great writer, did many great books on management and leadership style. But his one on servant leadership was, I think it was a servant leader to be specific. But anyway, it's how I tried to lead. And I think leadership is about putting your team first, putting your guests first, your shopper, whoever your customer is. And if you put those people first, you're going to be successful. Now, what I mean by that is, I always felt like if I gave everything I had in learning and training and understanding and teaching to my team, making them the priority, ensuring that their needs were met, ensuring that they understood their expectations, ensuring that they knew where we were going and their role in how we're going to get there, we were going to be successful. And, the leadership style is different. A lot of people, weren't used to it. My goal was to put them first and to highlight to what they do and to make sure that they succeeded, take out roadblocks for them so that they could be the best they could be. Because if I did that, I knew that that was going to allow me to be the best I could be. And so this book kind of gives you steps on how to do that, how to focus on your team, what you need to do to make them feel like they are the most important, and they are the most important. And so I, there are four principles that I wrote down somewhere and I can't remember them now because it's been a while since I read the book, but I I just felt like that was how I led my store, led my team, and by putting the people first, people wanted to work for you. They knew that you had their back. They knew that you were going to follow through on the things you said you were going to do. And I think, again, I mentioned about being consistent. I think that's also in the book. It's just your consistency in how you treat people. You treat people the same, and you are consistent in that. I think people are going to follow you. And if they follow you, they're going to listen to you. And if they listen to you, you're going to be able to help them get to where they want to go. And so servant leadership to me is the only best way to go. I don't need to put myself first. In putting my team first, I got a lot of recognition. I mean, I did some really cool things, and I built a great career because of that. And so I feel like it worked for me.
I love that. Be a servant leader. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
We had a question come in the Q&A box here. I want to address this. So, working in retail is ever changing. One of the things you and I talked about before was, just that environment where every day is different. You don't know what you're going to be walking into. You don't know what kind of customers you're going to have that day or what problems you're going to have to tackle. So this question that came through is, how were you able to sustain high performance for so long, knowing that you worked in an ever-changing environment?
That's a really good question. I like that question. I think part of it is knowing that, in how you set up your team or how you communicate with your leaders. That's the expectation, is that things are constantly changing. Not only is your guest changing, or the the focuses that you have are changing. Seasons change.
Mhm.
You know, 1 minute we're setting up for Christmas, the next minute we're taking down Christmas and getting up to back to school in January. You know, people are like, what? It's just crazy how things change. Your focuses change from the company in that we are going to do destination plans and we're not going to do destination plans. We're going to develop our team this way versus that way. Um, if you don't talk it through with your team and understand how we're going to get behind this as a unit, you're not going to be successful. And I think that is one of the keys that I felt was which made me successful as a leader is that, okay, here's what the company's coming down with. You have to put your hands around it first. And if you, as you read it, okay, this is what we need to do. So I need to first convince myself. And once I convince myself, then I can convince my team. And having a not necessarily a store, I would say a store meeting where you get people, when you communicate what is coming down and you allow people to share their opinions, share their thoughts. Because there are some people on my teams who have been around for 20 plus years. They
Mhm.
have seen change after change after change after change. And you have to help people get over that and allow them to grieve and then get past that. Okay, now we've grieved long enough. It is time to move forward. Here's how we're going to move forward. Here's how you're going to excel in this. It is different, but here are the things that are the same. And here are the things that you have to get used to. And we're going to help you figure out how to get used to them. We're going to help you figure out your role in this and how you're going to be successful. And you almost have to do that with, every leader in every section of your store. And, I was able to do those things in a lot of situations and help my team through the change. And it's very, very hands-on, very a very needy part of the job. And but if you don't do it right, it can be devastating because people don't
Mhm.
get on board when the changes come. You lose a lot of people. And sometimes I didn't do it very well. And so and I lost some people and I had to learn from those experiences. And so but it is trial and error. And but I do highly recommend you dig deep into it and invest the time into it because it can make or break your store. And getting your store or getting your business back after this change is very difficult. And so you have to dig in and really ask questions and own it
Mhm.
and make sure your team owns it. And how you do that is through a lot of conversations.
Mhm. Great. Thank you so much. We have about 6 minutes left. I've got two more questions that I'm going to try to tackle here in the next 6 minutes. Hopefully we can get done. So someone in the Q&A box asked um, if you can share an example of how you in the past have created incentives that aligned with the way trainees liked to learn.
Hmm. Incentives on the way trainees like to learn.
See if there's another way we can maybe word that.
Interesting question. Hmm.
Um, incentives that aligned with the way let's I think that that one we might have to dive deeper into. Let's put that one on hold for now. Maybe we can think about it and maybe address this afterwards in our post of an email. So here's another question that came in through the registration. And I think this one just is a great way to tie up our time together.
Okay.
What is the single most impactful thing you learned about leadership, and how was it helpful to you?
Yeah, that I'm gonna have to piggyback on the book. But I will say this, that over the years, I've learned that if I serve my team and I'm true I'm consistent in what I say. When those times when I am very honest and very specific in what I say and consistent in what I say, those are the best times over my career. Those have created the best experiences, even though, and what I mean by that is when you're coaching or developing someone, when you don't hesitate to give them the most specific feedback and the most timely feedback. And there have been times when I haven't. And so, there are times when I learned that, okay, maybe I should have said this a lot sooner or communicate this in a different way, which was more direct. Because, I have been said that there are times when I like to give you the soft way to hear some bad news. And I was kind of skilled at that at sometimes. And, people got it, but they didn't walk away crying. Sometimes people need to walk away crying. And and I don't mean to hurt people, but you have to sometimes tell people, this is what I see. This is what the team sees. This is what you're displaying to everyone. And this is how you're being perceived. I know it doesn't sound like feel good about, but you don't feel good about it. But for you to be better, you need to make this change. The more direct, the more specific you are in giving feedback, people are going to be better.
Right.
They're going to learn, they're going to grow. And all feedback isn't negative either. So, there are, positive feedback, positive things that you can say to somebody, but giving people feedback as a leader and developing them, because people, one of the things that always happens with new leaders, that is the first thing that they're concerned about is, how do I give people feedback? And you have to teach them how to give people feedback. And at the beginning, they're not going to be as direct, and they're going to have some experiences where they learn the hard way. But if you can teach them that if you document, the feedback is very, very easy to give, because all you're doing is saying, on this day, this is what took place. This is how you reacted. This is what's the results. If you document, you're going to be able to give feedback so easy. Easier said than done, and people need to practice that. And I keep trying to teach people that. I even sometimes have to teach myself that. I got to make sure that, my documentation is on point. But I think the biggest learning is when I did not give specific feedback, or when I did give specific feedback, that person grew a lot quicker and were able to change and able to address it, or they made a decision that this isn't right for them. Sometimes we spend a long time with people when we don't need to. And you know what? It's overall, in the end, it's going to be better if you give them specific feedback. And that was a big learning for me. And I wish I could go back and utilize it even more so than I did. But yeah, specific feedback is key.
Absolutely. Well, we are at time, and I wish that we had more time to spend with you, because I feel like there is a lot more that we could talk about, a lot more we could cover. I just want to, thank you, Vincent, for being with us today, sharing your story with us, some wonderful lessons on leadership. It's definitely given us, I think, everyone that's attended today, a lot to think about when it comes to building strong teams, and the importance of mentoring and supporting others. And I think, just learning from you, I've figured out there's ways that I can do that, even if I'm not a manager or, supervisor. I can still find ways to be a leader on my team, so I think you just provided some really fantastic insights for us today. And I also want to thank everyone who tuned in, and all those, who submitted questions for Vincent. We had a lot more great questions come through, and maybe there's a way we can figure out how to address those after this event. We'll put our heads together and see if we can make that happen. So yeah, all of you who attended really made this conversation a lot richer. I want to let everyone know that in the next couple of days, I'll be sending out a recording of this webinar along with a little survey that'll help us in planning future events for the Duck Career Network. With that, just want to thank everyone for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you again, Vincent, and go Ducks.
Go Ducks. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.